Welcome to another episode of Culinary School Stories, the weekly podcast that is dedicated to sharing the stories of people around the globe whose lives have been influenced, impacted, touched, and or enriched, for good or for bad, from their culinary school experience. Hi, my name is Colin Roach, and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us today. You are an important part of this show, where we ask the question, what's your culinary school story? So now, without any further delay, let's meet today's guest. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Culinary School Stories podcast, a proud member of the Food Media Network. And I hope you follow the show and have subscribed to the podcast because it's free. We would love to have you as part of our community. You can subscribe through your favorite podcast app, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a whole bunch more, or through our website at www.culinaryschoolstories.com, which is also where we store all of the podcast's past episodes, as well as our guest's bio and contact information. So be sure to check that out. Again, www.culinaryschoolstories.com. So now, without any further delay, I would like to introduce today's guest, who has a great story to share with all of us. She not only has multiple culinary degrees, but has also taught culinary arts at the high school level for many, many years. In addition, she's also a successful entrepreneur who currently operates multiple businesses, and this is just part of her culinary school story. So now I'd like to welcome Chef LaToya Larkin to the podcast. LaToya, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
I'm great. Good. I'm dying to hear all about your story, and I know the listeners are too. So why don't we go way back to the beginning? Where did your love of cooking start, and how did it get you to start thinking about this as a career?
Well, my love for cooking came from, I learned how to cook from my grandmother. So my grandmother, she helped out my mom a lot. My mom was a nurse. So just with those hours of her nursing and things, she helped my mother, helped her out a lot. So she taught, we used to stay with her a lot. She did a lot of cooking. She was a great cook and a baker. And she was one of those, she let me pull the stool up and help her with stuff. So that's how I kind of got that love started. I started cooking with her when I was about 8.
When did you decide that this is a possibility of a career here? This is something I may want to pursue.
I came to that conclusion when I was in high school. After I graduated high school, I took cosmetology while I was in high school, cut hair for a year afterwards. But it was just one of those things like, this isn't what I want to do. I mean, you know, there are people that makes an amazing, awesome living because, I mean, beauty is beauty, but it just wasn't for me. And literally, I was laying on the couch one day and a commercial for the Art Institute came on, and I was just like, that's it, you know, because it's one of those things. I've always loved to cook. What I used to do was my first real thing that I learned how to master was peanut butter cookies. So we used to get the commodity peanut butter, the USDA peanut butter, and they had
the big can.
Yeah, that old school white can, and it had the recipe on the back. And so I'd ask my grandma, like, Grandma, can I make these? And well, okay, I help you make. So she showed me how to measure and stuff, and so I just kind of worked it. And I used to go around the neighborhood selling them.
Wow.
Selling them to people. And so, but it was one of those things, it didn't really set in. Like I said, it didn't set in then, but it was always one of those things. I was so young. And when older people like, hey, you can really cook. Like, so it's like, yeah, and I just liked how that made people feel. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to always have a job.
That's right.
Everybody loves to eat. Like, when people get their first little amount of money, they'll pay bills and stuff, but what they want to do, they want to go out to eat.
So you saw this commercial, and did you go visit the school first?
We did.
Okay, well, tell me about that. What was the impression?
We ended up going to go visit the school. So I told my mom and my dad, I was like, I was looking at it. I think I want to go to culinary school. And so they was like, okay, well, if you're trying to do something, we'll support it. So just let us know when we're going to go. And so, I called, got it set up. We went and did the tour. It was at the Art Institute here in Houston. Okay. So we went there, did the tour of the school, and it was just one of those things. And and of course, they have it set up when the students are in action. So you get to watch them doing the stuff. And it was just like, that's it. That's what I want to do. I want to do that. I want to be able to make fancy, pretty food because I grew up also watching, great chefs, Justin Wilson, all of the cooking shows on PBS, before Food Network was a thing. And so, and it was just like, I want to do that. I want to make pretty food, good food, because I can cook, but I want to go and take it a step further. So,
Awesome. So you signed up, you
mhm.
enrolled, and then your first day comes. Tell us about that. Tell us what goes through your mind when you're walking on campus. You're ready to pursue your dream here. What did they give you? Did they have orientation, and how did they set you up? What was your first class?
So I signed up and went for the tour. It was during the summer. So I started for the next course that they was offering, and that next semester was the fall in October of 2000. So go in like a week before that, did the orientations, did the campus tour again, and got to meet some people, got to meet some new students that were going to be students as well, like that orientation type thing, and it was just super super exciting. However, getting there on the first day of school, it's one of those things where, you think, you can cook and you got this and you got that, but the chefs, they're going to bring all that down and humble you really quick. So it was one of those very humbling experiences. Hard, because like I said, it's one of those, you can't have you can't have your feelings on the sleeve. You got to be able to take what they give and absorb it and not get personal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of people kind of, in life can kind of get personal about stuff, but they're just doing this stuff to ride you and make you better. And honestly, I couldn't even take it back for that experience as well, because that's one of the things that I realized over the time of building up my career in the profession, and then just also becoming an instructor as well. Like, you have to be able to take that criticism. But again, that's a tough blow, because I went to culinary school straight after high school. So I'm still young in my feelings,
Right.
like 19, and it's just like, okay, we're just kind of getting over it and learning the ropes. But I had an amazing experience, learned a lot of great chefs paths that I crossed, just from learning different things, because everybody brings different things to the table.
Mm-hmm. Who else was in the class with you? Was it everyone right out of high school? Was there some career changes? Was it military people?
Yeah, it was definitely it was an array, because you had some people, there were a few, like myself, straight out of high school. You had people that were literally doing career changes. I mean, they've worked for 20 plus years, and now they want to become, they want to be chefs now. You have people that were there, kind of still trying to figure out, find their way. So yeah, that age range, our class was like from 18 all the way up to, I think one of the oldest students we had there was Miss Donna, and she was like in her 60s, I want to say.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So how did that affect the dynamics? You had all the different ages, different genders, different ethnic backgrounds. How was that in the classroom? How did it materialize, manifest itself?
The dynamics, is one of the, especially when you deal with older people, because some people be set in their ways, so it's like, when you have these fresh new ideas and, they think, oh, you young, you don't know what you're talking about, that type of thing. So one of the things that one of our chefs did, Chef Watts, shout out to her, she was from Chicago, great chef. I did intro with her. She used to mix us up. So it was like, we couldn't get clicked up and just want to work with the people that we were comfortable with. We had to actually rotate. And, we were assigned our positions in the brigade, and just kind of rotated and moved around. So you got to be able to gel and work with other people, because again, that's one of the things she said, that's the reality of it. Like, you're going to work with people that you're not going to like, but you got to get the job done, So you got to set your feelings aside. I know with some people, I can already tell with personalities, a lot of people aren't going to get along, but we still got to work it out. And, it was one of those things, a work in progress, but it definitely, again, it helped out in the future, because that's nothing but facts. Like, you're going to do things that you don't want to do. You're going to work with people that you don't want to work with, but you got to get the job done. That's part of it.
Right. So true. So true. Now, did you have a favorite class going through that first degree program, or favorite chef, something you want to give it a shout out to?
My favorite chef, and here's the thing, I couldn't stand him. Like, we kind of had that, we was like kind of at each other. Chef Edrington, Chef Michael Edrington, he is really dear to me. He helps me out a lot. To this day, we're still in contact. He still mentors me and things of that sort. But it was one of those, of how he would talk. He's just so rough, he'll just talk to you like, and it's like, wait a minute, you don't know me like that. Like, you sitting there talking to me like that. And then when I really got to know him, it was just like, okay, he's cool, and it was just like really getting to know. And it's like this old white man coming at me, telling me all this stuff and trying to put the little black girl in, because he called me one, little black girl, let me tell you something. Like, oh, hold on, And so it was one of them kind of moments. But when I realized it, he was married to a black woman. he had a lot of Black friends, so he just kind of, and I'm just like, okay. But then when I could again pull it back and get out of my feelings, I learned so much from him. He was one of those. I had my first real restaurant job, like full service, because I worked fast food and stuff like that in high school. But that was my first real restaurant job. It was my first chance of leadership, to actually be in a leadership position, truly learning inventory, learning how to plan menus, learning, just all of that, recipes, costing, labor, all of those type of things. I learned so much of that from him. And it was from that experience of him, because he ended up doing a corporate chef position for a local restaurant here in Houston. So he left from teaching. And so he brought on a lot of us on board. And it was just like I said, that experience was phenomenal experience. Because again, where else am I going to go,
right,
and get that type of experience other than them just trying to place you to be a line cook or just trying to place you where they need you to be at and not giving you the extra. So I learned so much from him.
Do you think he was just putting on a front for the students, but he really wasn't his true personality, or he's just doing that as a motivator, or being that rough type?
I think it was his that's him. I mean, he's by nature. I mean, he's like that. He knows, like he's just like that. So I definitely wouldn't say it was him being his authentic self. And it's just one of those things. It's like that tough love, because again, if you don't know him, you're not gonna like him. It's just simple as that. You're not going to like him if you don't know him. It's one of those, you got to take the time and get to know, like you said, peeling the layers. And it's like, you know what? He cool. Like he really, okay, I could take it for what he is. I know what he's about. So yeah.
Let's jump ahead here. I'm going to talk about your next degree. You went back and got 2 more degrees, and we want to talk about that. But while we're on this subject, because you were a high school culinary instructor yourself, what do you think makes a good instructor, a good teacher? What do you think makes someone a successful and effective as a culinary educator?
I think what makes a successful culinary educator is being able to tap in to your student and pull stuff out. A lot of times you have students, they'll second guess themselves. And so I think what makes a good instructor is to truly build that confidence, offer them those opportunities. Because again, if you don't have those opportunities, and I tell my students all the time, and just learning along life, if you don't know the right people, you'll spin your wheels, trying to figure stuff out. And it's the people that that'll help put you into places. So I think one of those things of pulling out that confidence, because I've crossed the paths of some amazing students, but they second guess themselves. And it's like just building up that confidence. And it's like, okay, you know what, I could do that. Like they could really cook, they could really bake. And it's like, have you thought about doing some competitions? Have you thought about competing? Well, no, I don't think I can. Why not? Like you just made this like restaurant quality product. Why not?
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, I didn't think about it like that. I'm just a kid. Well, you're just talented. It's just those skills. Everybody don't have that skill, because again, as everybody can't cook, even though it comes natural to us, there's really people, they really can't cook, and like, they really can't boil water, as they say, in that sense. So.
Right. Good. So then you actually went back to the Art Institute, but at a different campus, correct? And got your bachelor's degree?
Yes.
So tell us about that. How did that happen? You went out in the industry for a while and then decided you needed to get more education?
Yes. I felt like I needed more education to be taken more serious because it's such a competitive field. It's a male-dominated, white male-dominated field. And with me being a Black female, it was one of those things of I got passed up for a lot of opportunities that I know I was qualified for because, again, a white male trained me. So I know the industry, I know certain things, but I felt like I was kind of at that tap out point. So it was like, you know what? And I wanted to have a 4-year degree.
Right.
So it was like, okay. And then when I seen that the Art Institute of Atlanta, they were one of the first campuses to offer that, and my credits would transfer and I wouldn't have to start over at another school and, go for like the whole 4 years. All of those credits just transferred and I was able to go and obtain my undergrad degree in a year and a half.
Right.
And so, and then again, just also going to learn, go to a different go to a different scenery, learning new different things in the area, meeting new chefs, meeting the students, all those kind of stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
just getting out there.
How did the two campuses compare? Were they very similar, same curriculum, or were they different environment?
So the Art Institute, a lot of their buildings, they are like campus-wise, the structure, it's kind of the same. Of course, they have their differences, like maybe the design, layout, and stuff like that. But for the most part, they're usually in that structured office building kind of deal. And the foundations, pretty much the curriculums, because I noticed in the associates program, they had a lot of the same classes. But what I did notice when I went to Atlanta, there were a lot of instructors, there were students there because of they offered that bachelor's program. So I noticed there a lot of the instructors there, they were actually sitting right next to me in class,
Wow.
obtaining their Chef Higgins, she was the pastry chef there. She actually graduated with us in our class.
So they're teaching in the 2-year program while going to school to get their bachelor's degree.
To get their 4-year degree. Yeah. That was definitely, because I was like, wow, okay. But then, they're one of the first campuses, the pilot campus, to offer that bachelor's degree. Because now, if you look, all the campuses offer the bachelor's degree now. But yeah, that was, I think it was Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, and Denver. Because I was looking at which one did I want to go to. And when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, Atlanta, I've been to Atlanta before. I love it. Always had fun. It's more cost effective than the other two cities. So
good.
Yeah, I chose Atlanta.
So you just mentioned that you wanted to go back and get that bachelor's degree because the 2-year wasn't enough for you. You weren't getting that advancement. Right. Do you think that the 2-year is enough for other people? It just wasn't for you because, as you mentioned, that you're a female? Or do you think you need more than a 2-year? Is a 2-year suffice or no?
I think it depends because I think times have definitely changed now. Compared to what it was when I first went to culinary school. Mm-hmm. I think now, you'll be okay because there's so many avenues that you could take with people, getting that exposure, blowing up. Social media is definitely a whole nother monster that wasn't in place when I was in school. But I know for myself, with what I wanted to do, what I was trying to do, and I've always just kind of been that nerd, like that school nerd. So I wanted to have that degree to go back and get that undergrad degree.
So the 2 years enough for somebody, but if you really want to advance or go into management, then you think you need that bachelor's.
Absolutely, and that's what my degree was in management, culinary management. So for me to actually be able to be taken serious, like, okay, she really wants to do this. She went past culinary arts of just learning the craft of it. She actually wants to manage people and actually, because I used to tell my students that all the time, you could be so skillful and you cook and crafty and design plates that are just like, don't want anybody to eat it because it's so beautiful. But if you don't know how to manage people, that's where the money is, because again, the chef's going to take the credit for what you're doing because you're just doing what the chef shows you how to do. And you might be able to duplicate it a little bit better than what the chef does, depending on your skills. But yeah, the money's in management, knowing how to manage people.
Mm-hmm. Now that you've had some time out of school and to reflect, and you actually were a teacher yourself, is culinary school worth it? Is the return on investment there? Would you recommend it, or would you change things if you could?
I think it's worth the investment. It is expensive. However, you get in what you put into it. So if you want to get the results of being, being a chef, living in your passion, doing your craft, you're going to get out of what you put into it. That's how I feel about it. Because there are just certain things I know a lot of people these days, they throw on a chef jacket and they're a chef, but then when you start to talk culinary terms, to look like a deer headlights, they have no what you're saying. I think school is definitely beneficial if you're going to be a chef, just from knowing, because it's just stuff you're going to learn in culinary school that you're not going to pick up outside of. And that's just my opinion. Right. I really feel I'm strong about that, because a lot of people, they'll look, oh, well, I'm a self-taught chef. And it's like, okay, I respect that. However, it's just certain things you're going to learn on a commercial industry level,
And that's what you'd explain to your students. Well, if like one of your parents, the parents of one of your students came and said, is culinary school worth it? Should I send my daughter or my son? Is
right.
That's how you'd explain it to them?
Yeah, that's exactly how I explain it because, it's the reality of it, because again, back to that management thing, you're going to move up a whole lot faster, with you having, certifications and degrees behind you, you'll move up a whole lot faster than the person that's just the worker working their way up. Not saying they can't work their way up, but how much longer is it going to take you to work your way up, So.
Do you wish there was some classes that you didn't get when you were in culinary school? Now looking at you, like, I wish they offered that. Or was it the curriculum pretty good as it was written?
I think the curriculum was pretty good because we had, especially when I went back on the second time, I learned a whole lot, because it was some things they just, because again, the culinary arts, it was just strictly towards that artsy, crafty, that the art of culinary. So that's kind of what I learned there. But when I got to the management side, it was kind of a balance because they threw, because, we still did some cooking classes as well, and kind of really tailored and fine-tuned some things with plating presentations and things like that. I got to another chef I have to shout out, Chef Daryl Schuler. He's the first African-American master chef.
Wow.
And just getting to work with him, absolutely amazing. He's one of those chefs. He looks so mean, but it's just sweet as pie, and a lot of people don't like to approach him because, he mean, but and I mean, when I say a silent killer, lethal, I mean, you wouldn't know that he knows what he knows. And then when he gets in his craft, it's just like, okay, it's just really like like that to watch him, to watch him work. And at the time he wasn't a master chef. When I was in school, he became a master chef. I think it was like 13 or 14. So it was a few years after I graduated, but just being able to work with him and learning, a lot about that, because when I went to Atlanta, I started competing when I was in Atlanta. I didn't compete when I was in Houston, but I started competing when I was in Atlanta. And it was, again, just kind of being inspired by him because he was really strong on the competitions. Like that's what he did, was with the competitions and stuff like that. So we learned a lot of different skills in, like I said, in regards to the presentation and timing, really getting that speed up, that agility, because it was one of those for a while, I had the craft and knew how, but I wanted to kind of take my time and make sure it's this and make sure it's that. But it's like, no, you got to move. Like you got to learn your speed. So I don't have any takebacks on the curriculum, what I learned, because I learned a whole lot from both of them combined on a combined level.
Great. And so that chef, he sounds wonderful, good inspiration, motivation for you and being that role model. Now, you mentioned the industry too is, traditionally been a lot of white men and it's changing, but do you see it changing?
Absolutely.
How can we change it quicker? How can, how do you see it in the future? And where's the role models today for those that are coming up through the ranks?
Oh, it's definitely changed from like I said, when I started, I was called 2000, and from that 21 years later, it looks nothing like it looked then. You go into certain places and certain restaurant establishments where you knew back then, I knew I wouldn't even have a chance. They'll interview me, just on a realistic tip. They'll interview me and, okay, we'll call you back, and never hear the call back. And again, you're knowing, you know why, because I've had this conversation with plenty of my other chef friends, and they're like, well, you ain't gonna see much of us in there and that type of thing. And it's like, now in this day and age, you go in, it's like, oh, okay, somebody that looks like me is in management now. Okay, times have changed, and we've shifted. Kind of got out of that mindset because it's all about skill and your knowledge and what what you're bringing to the table. Because as I mentioned before, I know for a fact I knew a whole lot more, and especially when I got into these positions, like, wait a minute, I could outcook them. I could do this. And I actually went to culinary school, but, because they knew somebody, that can get them in. And now they're in this management position, able to tell me this and tell me that. But it's like, but I can outcook you. I know this. I know that, those type of things. Because again, a white man trained me and I know just what y'all know, if not more, but I'm not given that fair opportunity. So I think just in the future, it's a bright future for, and not even maybe, and not even outside of me being an African American, just being a woman. Like now we're seeing more women in the industry now, because again, they're by nature, I think that women, we already have that know-how of that leadership just from being mothers, and that innate nature of being mothers and knowing how to lead and having to take care of so much and handle so many things. And a lot of times, a lot of women, they bring different things to the table that men can't bring, to balance it out. So I think in the industry as a whole, just going further, it looks nothing like, and then not even that social media. That's another thing that has definitely changed the game is social media. You have people, just for myself, is that being a leading example. I did an article with Cuisine Noir last year, and Houston, that's a given. Houston and Dallas and stuff like that. But I got people reaching out to me from California, New York, Florida, Illinois, just all around. And then they're checking my social media. They're checking this and checking that. And it's just like, it's just so different now.
Yeah.
So the opportunities are vast. Like it's just it's amazing of opportunities. So there's definitely a change and a good positive change.
That's great because the industry needed it.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of problems, and also, substance abuse, mental anguish, all those things were all part of this, had a bad reputation in the industry, a lot of.
I mean, because, the industry is so stressful, a lot of people that aren't, if this isn't for you, it's really easy to get caught up in that, especially when you're working those late out. Because I was a restaurant chef for 8 years. So I know, and I've seen, some of the coworkers, I've seen how some of them were. And it's like, whoa, you hitting the bottle real hard, you're going from, just a little joint to like real, like the hardcore stuff. So, and again, that coping mechanism, because again, families are falling apart. You're not at home all the time. You work, just all the different stuff and stress that comes with it. One establishment that I worked at, and it took a real toll on the chef because, and even though it was kind of like one of those things, it was his fault, but it's your restaurant. So of course you're going to feel the burn. A customer died because of she went into anaphylactic shock. The key lime pie had pecans in it in the crust.
Oh, no.
And and the server didn't disclose that. And so, it's just one of those things of that took just a downward spiral, which I just hated to see that go and how that happened. But again, those are the type of things that comes about, with the substance abuse, with all the negativity that comes with it. So just learning that balance of it.
Yeah. And that, like you mentioned, the discrimination, the harassment, the substance abuse, the industry has to change, but especially now because you can't get workers, right? I mean, so you're seeing that out there too. It's like,
absolutely.
How are we going to bring people into this industry
right.
to make it, viable career option and get people excited about it and change?
Right. Yeah. And that change that just has to come with, just with the times and mindset, just realizing of just getting current with the times and, and again, like I said, just looking past certain stuff and realizing that people, like there's some really talented people that are bringing stuff to the table, whether it's from the age, because a lot of times you have those, like I said, those older people that look down like on you, oh, you don't know nothing. Well, you don't know what they sit up and do in their free time. Because like I was saying about that student that was kind of second guessing herself, but yet you sit up and you watching YouTube videos, mm-hmm. You actually read, it's something that a lot of people don't do. You're actually sitting here reading up on stuff and you're reading up on techniques. Like, and I'm giving a lesson and stuff. She hands always shooting up. She got that. Whoa, can you be quiet and let somebody else answer again? Because this is what you do in your free time. You're doing stuff outside of class. So, you never know what people, because you can't take that knowledge away from people, when they really sit up and master their craft and, regardless to the age, mm-hmm. Because again, like I said, and she ended up going to culinary school and she's a pastry chef now. But it was just one of those of just kind of, then of course, when she went to culinary school, she was able to kind of show them up a little bit. Because again, this is what she did like all her teenage years, like all through high school, was just really, on their free time, looking up stuff, like I said, the YouTube videos. Chef, you got any cookbooks I could look at or anything I could use or what you recommend and, what I could, that type of stuff.
She could really blossom then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's good that the industry's changing and it really needs to change, and work-life balance is a big thing right now. And so you got to try to work on all those. But so let's go on to your third degree. What inspired you now to go and say, I need a master's? So
what inspired me for the master's, because it ties into what I'm doing now with with my last concept that I launched, It's Time for a Change, the nonprofit. So I was looking because I was like, okay, I want to do my master's. I'm wanting to start my nonprofit. And then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? If I knock out this degree, most likely they're going to make me do like a capstone type project. So I can just go ahead and, get all the game and learn all of that at the same time. And when I'm able to graduate with the degree, I'll graduate with a whole plan in place for my nonprofit. And that's exactly what I did. When I graduated, I was able to have everything in place for my nonprofit. because, again, all the different assignments and again, meeting the different professors and stuff. And that was also a good challenge for me because it was an online course that I did. And I'm one of those students, I'm an in-person student. So I like to sit there, being present, ask questions, interact with the students and stuff like that. So with me being online, it was definitely a challenge because, you have to have that discipline for online classes because it is easy to get caught up and do other stuff. And when you're online, it's just it's so distracting.
Miss those deadlines.
Yeah, very easy. And then, and of course, as you get higher and higher, there's not too many, a lot of the professors, no, this is my deadline. If you don't turn it in, I'm not grading it. Someone's going to have to die in order for me, for them to give you that leeway and that credit. So it also helped me learn, just to step out and do something different outside of the comfort zone, because they did have a campus here. I went to Springfield College. Their college is based out of Massachusetts, out of Springfield, Massachusetts. And they do have a campus here in Houston, but they didn't offer that nonprofit management degree. So it was just like, okay, I could go on the campus here, but they don't have it. So it was just like, let me make it worth my while. And again, one of my good chef friends, Chef Duran, he always says that you have to, in order to get comfortable, you have to get uncomfortable.
That's true.
So it was one of those things. It was kind of uncomfortable because it's like, it was exciting, but then it's like, and it's a lot. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize with online classes is it's a lot of work. Like, it's not easy. A lot of people think just because you're online, it's online, it's going to be, you get more work online than you actually get in person.
It's harder.
It's like, it's a whole lot harder. So, because again, they're trying to make sure, you're doing what needs to be done. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge.
You don't get that discussion time in class. So now it's all writing, right? Because that's how you participate.
Yeah. And then you have to do your discussion questions back and forth online, with people and stuff like that. So yeah, it was definitely that challenge I need to grow, to help grow me, to do things. Because another thing that I've always operated my personal chef business. So, just going in to cook for people, meal prepping and stuff like that, caterings and stuff. I had to really scale back because it's like, I don't have time for it no more. But luckily, I was still teaching and stuff. So it was like, I didn't have to worry about that.
So it was like a pause while you went on for your education.
Yeah. And it was like, and I'll do a few things here and there, especially like my really good clients, I'll pick up and do something for them there. But I just wasn't moving full throttle like I was before because I just didn't have the time to afford. And, and then that social life of like, I'm not going nowhere. I got homework,
You'll never read a personal book. You'll never go watch a regular movie. It's all about the academics.
There you go. Yeah, I'm talking about just sitting up on the computer, just doing assignments and just doing this and this. And a lot of my friends, you always doing homework. I really am. Like I really am doing homework.
See you in 2 years.
Right. Okay. Like, it's not a joke. I'm really doing homework. And not even that it was an accelerated program. So I started in January of 2019 and I graduated in December of 2019. Wow. So yeah, you already know the course load on that. Yeah. And then the summer, you know how the summer courses are, they're compacted. So they're not as long as the spring and the fall. So it was just like
8 weeks or so.
It was a lot. But it's something I definitely wouldn't take back because it was one of those things of just really growing me and really learning a lot of stuff about nonprofit business and, and learning all aspects of that, which, like I said, just helped me transition into just putting everything in place that, I was trying to do.
And you bring up a good point because if you're comfortable, you're not growing. You need to step outside of that to really embrace it. And anyone listening, especially some of the younger listeners to the show that may be thinking about school, if you're uncomfortable, that's good. Go for it. There's the opportunity. That's how you're going to learn. Don't be afraid. Life's too short.
And that's where it's that comfort zone, they get so comfortable and it's like, you know what, I'm cool right here. And it's like, that's cool to be comfortable sometimes because you want to be comfortable, but certain things you gotta step outside the box. You gotta step out on faith and just do it.
So true.
I want to take a quick pause here at this halfway point in the show and ask, are you currently in college or thinking about enrolling in college? Or maybe you're a parent, grandparent, or mentor of a high school or college-bound student. In either case, I want to share a super valuable free resource with you, and that is the nonprofit organization called Affordable College Prep. They are a free, nonprofit organization that offers remote college support services for students and families, which means that they can help you with your college essays, the application process, finding financial aid, and much, much more. And again, it's free. So what do you have to lose? Check them out today. Their website is www.affordablecollegeprep.com. That's all one word, www.affordablecollegeprep.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at Affordable College Prep. Remember, you don't have to navigate the college admissions process by yourself. Affordable College Prep has been helping and educating students and their families on all things college for years, with an emphasis on saving money and doing what is necessary to get students to graduate in a timely manner. The Affordable College Prep advisors do an excellent job in helping students find and apply to the universities that provide the best fit academically, socially, and financially for them and their families. And they do this by providing remote support over the phone, as well as through video chat, email, and text messages to help you prepare for college. So be sure to take advantage of this free resource and contact them today. Okay, now back to the show. So let's talk about your businesses, because I want to hear about this, because you got like 4 of them now. You got Black Girl Tamales, which I really want to hear about that. It sounds, the dishes you make sound incredible. You also have Not Enough Time personal chef service. You have your chef apparel you're selling now too. And then you got your nonprofit, which is really awesome, the Time for a Change. So tell us about those and where the inspiration is and where they're at now.
Okay, so I will start with Not Enough Time. That's actually my baby. So I took personal chef. That was my elective that I took when I went for my undergrad degree in Atlanta. The personal chef, the instructor that taught the class, she was a personal chef for TLC, Jermaine Dupri, that whole So Def crew up in Atlanta. She was their personal chef. Oh. And so she was telling us, and at this time I was still working in a restaurant, and she was just like, it's one of those things, you kind of have that flexibility, you can be as creative as you want. You don't have to get burnt, because the restaurant industry, for those that are working, she's like, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to come to a time you will get burnt out at some point in time, working those late, long hours, nights, weekends. And it was like, she was just singing to me, because I had got pregnant with my son when I was in Atlanta. So it was just like, and I was really getting to that point, like, I'm tired of this, I'm away from him more than than I'm with him. I'm a young mom. I don't even know my son, certain things, because I'm away from him so much. So taking that course and hearing her say that, it's like, that's it right there. That's definitely where it's at. And so
was that an elective course? That sounds like a really creative course. So you get to learn about being a personal chef.
That was one of the electives that was offered. Wow. And so, and when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I was like, that'll be cool. You can, go in, you're going to cook for people, go shop for them.
Flexibility.
Yeah, the flexibility. And not even that, you're creative, because, when you work in restaurants, depending on them, especially like a corporate structure, you're doing what they want you to do.
Right. The menu's the menu.
The menus. Yeah. There you go. Right there. The menu's the menu. You're only getting creative if it's something super late at night. You're making your own plate. Y'all cooking for each other on the line or something like that. But customers aren't getting what you put on the menu. You don't get that flexibility and that creativeness, and especially, like I said, that corporate structure. Maybe like a small restaurant with somebody giving you a chance. Sure, but what's the probability of that? You kind of shooting the dice, so you don't know.
Right.
But again, being a personal chef, yeah, you get to come right in and do just what you want to do. You could take, kind of get their idea of where they eat, what kind of foods they like, and then it's all on you. And that's what I lacked. That was something that fulfilled that culinary niche, because I never got that of the 8 years of working in restaurants. Again, mm-hmm. Yeah, I have shift leads, sous chef, stuff like that, but didn't have that full throttle, like that full creative. And I was like, yeah, that's it, because I know right now.
So did you start that in Atlanta and then take that with you to Houston?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I came back, because after I graduated, and that was another thing, I just had more opportunities here, back in Texas, back in Houston, because Atlanta's one of those more like everybody's trying to get there. So it's like, it's a bit super, super competitive, and, and my support system with my son, when we having a small child, was here back in Houston. So I came back and I started that. And then I did corporate work. So I got into doing corporate administrative work. So I worked at Toshiba. And a lot of people don't know, but their headquarters is here in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. And like people always coming all, yeah, that's why I was like, a lot of people don't know it. Cause I was like, yeah, I work at Toshiba. And they was like, oh, is that, you work at the plant? And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, yeah, it is the plant. I was like, but it's the corporate office. They're like, wait a minute, Toshiba in Japan? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's here in Houston, Texas. So I was like, people from Japan come here all the time. So yeah, I worked there. I worked in the IT department because when I was in high school, like I said, I took cosmetology, but I always took business classes. So I know how, I know those basics of filing, typing, document creation, creating documents, all that administrative type stuff. So it was just one of those things of, I'm just going to fall back on that. So I'm going to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, doing the administrative work, but then in the evenings, weekends, again, those same restaurant, nights, weekends, holidays, I can go cook for people.
Right.
So, and that's kind of what I did and just kind of built it up. And it still allowed me to be home with my child and be a mother to my child and things like that. So yeah, I took I learned that aspect of that.
Now, when you were a personal chef, is that where the start came for the Black Girl Tamales? Were you serving those as a personal chef, or is that a separate?
So I learned how to make tamales with my grandma when I was cooking with her when I was 7, because my grandma made tamales.
Oh.
And so, just kind of going into that one, the Black Girl Tamales, that is something that took off that I never imagined. Like I'm still like, you see the look on my face. It just, the way that it came about, I just am still in awe with the opportunities that came from it, because like I said, always made tamales, traditional chicken and pork. And it was back in 2019. I did a brunch, a Mother's Day brunch, and I had like a little bit of collard greens, right? And so I was telling my son, because when we leave for the summer, I sell tamales in the summertime while we're out of school, right? And so I was like, well, son, you know what? I was like, I got a little bit of collard greens. I'm gonna put these into tamales. And he was like, Mama,
what?
Yeah, because my son, he's been my sous chef. He's been cooking with me since he's 3, and he's gonna be 17 in December.
Wow.
And so he was like, Mama, you tripping? You doing too much. Look, let's just stick with, again, that comfort zone. Let's just stick with what we're doing, Mama. We've always made the chicken and the pork. Let's just stick with that. You're doing too much with the collard greens. And I was like, no. I was like, son, think about cornbread and collard greens. It's gonna be like cornbread and collard greens. And he was like, I mean, when you put it like that, it makes sense. But Mama, I know you're going to do what you want to do. Go ahead and do it. But I still think we just need to do the chicken and pork. And I was like, son,
trust me
on this one. So I made a little bit. And it didn't, of course, it wasn't a lot. Like it made maybe like a dozen, because I didn't have a lot of film, just trying to, use it up.
Who'd you test those with? Who'd you get your feedback?
Him. He was the first. Oh. He was one of the first. So then I called him up. I was like, son, come try it. And so he came over and ate it. And like I said, he's been cooking with me since he was 3. He's my sous chef. And I see that look in his face when something is good. And when he ate it, his face just lit up. And he was like, Mama. And I was like, what? And he was like, Mama, these are good. Hey, can I get another one? And I was like, oh, now you want another one. Okay. And so I gave a couple of my coworkers, I was like, hey, try this. Tell me what your thoughts are. And he was like, tamales? This is good. Like, man, this different. Cause everybody just do. I was like, I already know everybody just do the chicken and pork. And so it was like,
right. So it's outside that box, right? It's that creativity.
I was like, that's a good one. And so when I kept thinking about it, I was like, let me capitalize on it. And I started thinking, because I've always been super creative with and have a lot of good ideas. And I was like, I want to brand it, because this is different, truly different. Because again, you'll find people making tamales, they'll do, maybe outside of the chicken pork, you might find some bean and cheese. You might find some spinach or something like that. But like collard greens, like nobody even thought about collard greens. And so, and I came up and I was like, Black Girl Tamales, because I'm a Black girl and I make tamales. And that's what I get all the time when I go to the store to get stuff for tamales. And, and they'll look at me like, oh, you make tamales? Like, yeah, I make tamales. Oh, okay. All right. And I was like, and I just be looking like, I was like, I know. I was like, I'm Black, right? But And it's like, they just start laughing. I was like, I know that's what it is, because I'm Black and I make tamales and you don't think I can make them. I was like, and so now, and that's a funny story too, one of my students, because he didn't think, and actually he wasn't even really one of my students. He just kind of grew up, was like one of my adopted students, but he's Hispanic. And so we were planning out a menu one day, and then one of my other students, like, hey chef, you gonna do something to tamales? Can we, if we bring some stuff, can we make some tamales? And he was like, she can't make no tamales, man. She Black. Like, oh, Black people make no tamales. And they was like, man, wait a minute, you ain't trying the tamales? I was like, don't even do it. Like, I was like, I got them. Let's try them out. And so we did a little video, and like when he tried them, he just went, he's like, man, oh my gosh, chef, these tamales are real. I gotta give it to you. They take my Thea tamales. They good. They really. Who taught you how to make tamales like that? And I was like, well, my grandma taught me, because my grandma, she used to live out in California. Because her my uncle's father, she was married to him at the time, and he was stationed in the military out in California. So she learned how to make tamales from one of her friends, and Hispanic.
Right. So you have some awesome flavors. I see here obviously the collard greens, smoked turkey, oxtail, smothered pork chops. Then it just branched out to all these other flavors?
And you know what? And that came about during the pandemic. Those flavors, that's where, like I said, that I was blessed for the concept to take off, because we went on spring break and never came back, right? Never went back to school after spring break. And so, of course, restaurants took a hit. Closing all the restaurants, everything shut down. And so I was thinking, I was like, you know what? This is it for my personal chef business. Like, stuff is really finna take off. I'm really finna get some, new clients and stuff outside of my regular clients, but things are really gonna take off, because can't nobody go out to eat.
Right.
Everybody is tired of doing stuff around the house, eating stuff. A lot of people are scared to go to the stores and think, this is it. This is gonna be my deal. And so I cleaned out my freezer, and I had this concept of quarantine cuisines, right? So, did some meal preps, and a lot of times, and I'm at the blessed position, because again, I have a lot of clients. So if I post something, hey chef, how much can we get that? What's that one for? How much is that? So it was like, okay, cool. Post it all, and again, sold out. But I was laying in bed one day, and I had just got offline, because what we ended up doing was we did project-based learning, because they were still kind of on the fence of like how we were going to do it. Like, because all the teachers was like, well, what are we going to do? Like, what's the students going to do? What kind of work they're going to do? Like, what are we going to do?
Right.
And so they ended up having us do project-based learning. So we had a group of students that were assigned, and they had different projects and stuff, and they kind of tied in from all of the courses that they had the projects for. And so got offline one day from us doing a class, and I was just laying in bed, and I was thinking, I was like, what can I do? Because this is the perfect time to do something different. And so, and I was just thinking, and I was like, some other flavors, and it hit me. I was like, soul food. Just like I said with cornbread and collard greens, what goes with cornbread? There's no soul food meal you're really eating without cornbread. And then I actually made some oxtails that weekend. And again, same kind, just a little bit of oxtails left. Let me pull this off the bone and see. And that only made I only had like half a dozen. And so I went ahead and rolled them out. And again, my son, hey, let me get you over here and try them. When he came, he was like, Mama, okay, Mama, you on to something? So we got the oxtail, and we got the collard green, and it was like, yeah. And I was like, just kind of thinking outside of. I was like, you know what? I was like, I got it. I was like, I'm just gonna do some soul food tomorrow. I was like, smothered chicken, smothered pork chops, red beans and rice. And he was like, yeah. He was like, we had some red beans and rice. And I was like, I'm gonna pull those red beans and rice out the freezer, and we're gonna roll some out and see. And it just went from there. And so what ended up happening, the way that blew up, they have a restaurant group here in Houston, the Black Houston Restaurant Group. And so, and of course, it was at that time, Black Lives Matter. So it was just all about timing, right? Because it's like now everybody's pulling together, everybody's supporting everybody, and everybody wants to, there's social justice and stuff, and, just kind of support everybody. And so one of my, she was one of my former bosses. She actually gave me the break in teaching, because I went transitioning from teaching to, from the industry. It was one of those things, is like, I kind of questioned, what the hell am I doing? Because, I was in a sense kind of bullied, and it was like, I almost left from teaching. Had she not came in and did some stuff and shook up the game a little bit and put me on the platform, I would have went back into the industry because I'm like, I don't need this. I'm a degree professional in the industry. I have experience, and there's no job that I can't get going back into the industry if I chose to. But I'm here to teach because this is what I want to do. She posted something in that group with the tamales, with the collard green tamales, and it just went from there.
Wow.
And and it was just like so crazy because now I'm just making tamales.
So who buys them? Where's the customer? How can people get them? You sell them online? You sell them at a farmer's market? How do they find you?
So I do.
If someone's listening and wants some, how do they get
right?
them?
Okay. So right now, I was shipping for a while, but then I had to stop because of that liability. I am in the process of working with a food manufacturer in Dallas to get a manufacturer because there is a demand for it, like cross country. Because again, nobody's doing it. And that's just all honesty. No one's doing it. But right now here in Houston, I'm doing them locally. I've stopped teaching, so I'm doing full time now. So the way that they'll just place their order with me. I do have a website, and I had to stop the ordering on the website because again, it got so overwhelming. I'm talking about everybody and it's like, whoa, like, wait a minute, I don't do this full time because a lot of people thought that I just made tamales full time. It's like, I run a whole culinary program. I can't, I don't do this. So, but again, it's allowed me to, that demand's there. So here in Houston, I do like the little pop-up shops, vendor shops on the weekends, and just take orders and stuff like that. So that's how I'm doing it now locally. And then I'll do also pop-ups. I go to Dallas, hit the cities around here. Because before I started teaching, I had a job where I traveled. So I traveled all over the state of Texas. So again, just little pop-up shops and stuff in little towns that I went to. From where I grew up and stuff. And certain people, like my friend, I'll ship to my friends. I'll ship to them. But like I said, just that liability that could come with it. Now I had to put the shipping on hold, but shipping is definitely coming with this manufacturer.
Well, they can't order it yet, but how can they find out about it? So when it does happen, they'll be the first on the list. Do you have a website? How can they find out?
I do. blackgirltamales.com, just what it is. And then you can sign up to subscribe. And because I already have a list, the database, and that's what I'm saying. I already have like 500 people waiting. Like, it's just one of those things. It's crazy because I did an article with Cuisine Noir, because again, from the press, and I didn't even know. And I tell my students as well, you never know who's watching you on social media. With how social media is these days, and the things that you post and the things that you do, you never know who's watching. And the editor for Cuisine Noir, she was just she caught women, and she just started watching me, and then she sent me a friend request, and and I was kind of peeping her, but I didn't really know what she did, so I accepted. I was like, oh, she does food, she's into food, okay, cool.
Right. But
not knowing she's an editor for Cuisine Noir. And so she's seen a post that I did, and everybody's tagging me. That's another thing, because then they'll start tagging me, talking about tamales and stuff. And so she's just like literally just sitting here just watching. And she reached out to me. She had DM me, and she was like, I've been watching you, chef, and like you really have an amazing concept, and if you like, I like the interview. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And again, not knowing what's about to come from that, I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, okay. And we did the interview, and went over that, and the article hit, and it hit in October of last year, right? Well, when the article hit, my uncle had passed away. Well, my uncle passed away first on my mom's side. And then the day that the article actually dropped, my aunt passed away on my dad's side. Oh. And so it was like, and of course, it's one of those things, couldn't really absorb the moment, but it's like, right. I'm just grateful for it all. Well, I'm at my uncle's service, right? And I kept hearing my phone go off. And I was like, I'm not checking it. I'm not worried about it. I get back to Houston. I had $5,000 in my account, and I have 135 orders. And it's like, I don't even have a tamale roll. I'm not even in production. I go to a commercial kitchen, I roll them out and make them. And it's like, I don't even have a tamale. And like, what? And so when I reached out to the people, and I was telling them, like, hey, look, I'll gladly refund you. No. We just we're going to wait. It's nothing like this, what you ever doing. Like, you take your time, be with your family, get it together. When you start shit, we waiting. And they did that. Wow. That's what they did. A lot of people waited, Amazing. And again, it's just like, wow, because what I ended up doing with it being so close to the end of the year, I just took off for the month of December, and, and kind of got it together, got the team together, we rolled out and piped out the orders and stuff. And then there were some people, of course, they were getting too antsy. And it's like, fine, I don't, I'm not keeping no one's money. I will gladly refund you. And, they was like, well, no. Well, you can refund us, but put us on the list because when you want, we want it. Like we're going to wait. We want it. So
sounds like you got to get hurrying up and get that co-packer. And
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I had a meeting last week up in Dallas with the food manufacturer there. And so I'm going back this week for the second meeting. So, things are, it's kind of, it's there. Cause like I said, the demand's there and just the opportunities that just keep coming from it. And it's just like, and again, people like, I mean, literally like, people that I'm not even thinking or watching, oh, you're just such an inspiration, to see you doing that. That's an amazing concept. And it's just like,
it sounds great. You also have that nonprofit too, right? Time for Change. You're starting that, which is going to be taking some of your time, but tell us about that.
Oh, it's time for a change. I love it because it's one of, I love to teach. Like I love working with youth, especially those at-risk youth, those ones that don't nobody want to be bothered with because they think they're, they're so tough. And a lot of times they just want to be loved on. A lot of those, because, they come from, they have a lot of things that they're coming from and they're dealing with and they're battling. But a lot of them, what I've realized working with a lot of the at-risk youth, you let them cook. And again, like, as we talked about at first, empowering them, tapping into them, and letting them see something different, and it brings a whole different side out of it, a completely whole different side.
Do they want to be in culinary? Or do you just inspire them to be in culinary? How do they get from where they're at in your training?
Some of the students that do apply, a lot of them do want to do it. So it's just kind of
they want to be chefs, so that's their inspiration.
Yeah, they want to be chefs, so it's just one of those things. And this is, and my part is basic. I'm not. You're not going to come out a full-bred chef, but you will have the basics. The basics.
They could get a job in a restaurant. Their knife skills.
Absolutely. Teach them the certification. You're getting your certifications through NRA, food handlers, foods serve safe. I also do a customer service certification through the National Retail Federation. Because again, I don't care what job, even if you decide being a chef isn't for you, still need to know how to talk to people. So just doing the customer service, food allergens, so they could be aware of allergens and things of that sort. Because what a lot of people like to do that aren't aware of allergens, they think, oh, well, we could just take this off and we can still serve it. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because, an allergen is an allergen. You need to start from scratch. You need to start all the way from scratch and get a whole new plate. So, just teaching them those basics, just the basics.
Now, is it mostly academic or do you have a lab portion? Do you use a commercial kitchen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just kind of do some on-site cooking and stuff, do little light labs and stuff like that. Easy recipes for them to read and follow. Also, if I have any events or anything like that, sometimes let them come work with me on some of the events, just so they can shadow and see some stuff firsthand.
Sure.
That type of stuff.
How can someone find out about that? Maybe there's a listener that wants to help donate or wants to get involved or support you.
Absolutely. So website is Thyme, THYME, the number 4, achange.org. And so we can go on, get information about it.
Great. And if anyone's listening, I'm going to put all of these links in the show notes, the description below. So if anyone's listening and wants to find out more information, those links will be there, as well as your personal chef. What if someone wants to hire you as their personal chef? They're in the local area. How can they find out about that? Is that the same websites or a different?
Well, actually, I'm working on getting that pulled together. But right now I'm on Fash. I'm on Fash.com. And then on my Facebook page, I have Not Enough Time, PCN.
Okay. So I'll have all those and I'll put them all in so they'll be up to date and people can reach out. And any of these awesome businesses that you've got running here and they want to find out more, that would be great.
Awesome.
Okay, and then you also, like you don't have enough to do, you also have your own clothing line that you're designing and selling, Divah Chef Apparel. Why don't you tell us about that?
So I came up with Divah Chef Apparel. One of my friends that I went to culinary school, she's actually on my nonprofit board. We're really, really good friends. When I used to go to school, I did cosmetology when I was in high school. And my mom, she's always been very well groomed. She was a nurse. She'll go to work. She's always starched down her uniforms and all that. And so I just came from that. So, when I come to culinary school, my uniforms always starched down, my hair's done, makeup's done, a little backpack. I had a purple cheetah print backpack. And so Bernie, she was like, oh, here's Chef Divah. Here's the Divah. Here's a Divah Chef. And I'm like, Bernie, whatever. But then when I thought about it, I was like, I guess so. I guess people do. I guess so. Because I like to maintain my grooming. And, it could come off divish to somebody, but okay, cool. I run with it. And so just over the years, I use Chef Divah just as that trade. But then when I thought about it, just kind of playing off of it and building different things. I was like, Divah Chef Apparel. Yeah, and it's just this clothing line with shirts, aprons. The shirts have catchy phrases. I want to get into doing the chef jackets as well, because a lot of times what I've noticed over the years, especially when we first started out, there were no female jackets. Like it was just that square shape belt, and that was it. Like it wasn't nothing.
The industrial design, checkered pants.
Yeah, there you go. Nothing to fit the curves and all that type of stuff for a woman. So I am looking at doing the jackets, but right now it's just t-shirts and aprons that I'm doing, and they just have the catchy phrases. And that website is divachefapparel.com, and you can order from there.
Great. I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
Wow. So I guess I'm going to ask, what does the future hold for you? You've got enough on your plate now, but where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years? Where do you want to, take your next step in your journey?
Millionaire. I'm on to the millionaire in the making. So, just wanting to make sure that everything comes together. Because again, this isn't nothing that came overnight. This is literally one of these things that took years of strategic planning, of just really, and it all started from, because I was telling one of my students, because she was like, Chef, you just doing all this stuff. I was like, it's just coming together now. I was like, but trust me, this has been in the making for over a decade. Like I didn't just come up with all of this stuff. Like all of these things are now falling into place. And so, because when I started, like I said, when I transitioned from the industry to doing administrative work, to be at home with my son doing the 9-to-5 thing, when I ended up getting laid off, that's when it really hit me. When I got laid off from Toshiba, around that time when the recession had hit, everybody, I mean, I don't care, even if you were sitting on degrees, there was a lot of degree people with no jobs. And I could have went back to the restaurant industry, but it was just like, I can't, being a single mom, and I don't want to put myself in that position of not being there with my son. So, I was on unemployment for a while, but I utilized that time, I, started like truly planning, like business planning, get my business plan together for my personal chef service, starting to put this stuff together. Like, okay, well, I know I want to do this. I want to, I want a nonprofit one day. I want to teach people how to cook. I want to, teach people how to do that. And so, all of it came together in full circle because I started teaching first, to get that experience, and not because it's like, you're saying that you want to be a teacher, but then like you want to teach culinary classes, but then you don't know where to start. So it's like, and I felt like that was how I needed to start, was that to at least teach. And then when I started coordinating the program and running it, so now I have the inside and the know-how of it. So like I said, it was just one of those things, and especially being able to build everything up over time, because when you teach, you already know, no nights, no weekends, no holidays, all that type of stuff when you're on the school district schedule. So again, all of that, that's nothing but free time to give me time to, strategically plan and build stuff up and build my presence and, and just build things up and things like that.
Right. It's like the pandemic, it's an awful, awful time, but it's also an opportunity and an entrepreneurial time.
Absolutely.
It's forcing people to be uncomfortable, get off whatever stuck at home. But that's where the creativity comes out for the next step of the journey.
Absolutely. And, and it's one, he says, when this pandemic hit, it really hit home because it just reminded me of how the recession was. Because like, I was like, to just see how some of the people are struggling, they don't know where the next meal coming from, how they're going to get the bills paid and stuff. That's how I was when that recession hit. It was just like, it was really a struggle. And then I got a small child, like he's older now, he's more self-sufficient and things are a whole lot different. I got a small child. So it's like, I have to make sure, keep a roof over the head. I'm not,
right.
I got to, it's just one of those things. And I totally just, I
got to pivot, you got to hustle, you got to pivot, you got to do things, you got to change.
Absolutely. And it's just like, and I just understand, like, to see some of the people and hear some of the stories, it's just like, man, I was like you when that recession hit. But the one thing about it, what I learned from that recession, I was like, I would never be in that position if something like this ever happens again, just learning from that and building stuff up. And then this pandemic hit. And again, I wasn't in that position because that was my goal. Because another thing that I started hearing over the years was, we hit that recession. No way, we're gonna come into a recession again. Something like this gonna happen again down the line. It might not happen right now, but it's gonna be some years down the line. And again, it hit this pandemic. And like I said, just kind of strategically having a strategy and putting stuff in place to not be in that position. Because again, this is a really tough, trying time for a lot of people. I mean, I have literally seen some people fall apart at the seams because of all of this, not being able to go to work and, their jobs, just all the uncertainty, all the uncertainty.
Devastating, just so sad. So now that you're a success, you have all these businesses and it was a journey, you had that path, you've planned it out, all those degrees that you got along the way. Would you do anything differently now with that reflection? If you look back, would you change anything? Would you have done it a little different?
I think the one thing that I would have done differently is that I would have been more active. And when I say being more active, building the network, participating in the groups at school, the organizations and things of that sort. I didn't really learn the importance of that until after going to culinary school twice and, being out of work and realizing like, wait a minute, it's who you know. It's those people that you really know, and just kind of, again, just being active and exposing yourself and, so people know what you do, because again, social media is a deal, this, that, and the other, but it's always old school, tried and true for someone to drop your name in the hat, so I think it would have been a little bit more networking. I would have more mentors. Because I didn't really realize that Chef Edgerton at that time was being my mentor. Because I think if I would have realized that then, I would have gravitated and pulled on to more people instead of just kind of leaving it at that. Because I kind of had that sense like, I've always been smart. I can figure it out. I can do this. I mean, it ain't gonna be nothing for me to get a job. I get in there, they see how it work. It'll be this, it'll be that, and it's just like, no, that doesn't always work all the time. I mean, that might be cool for some things, but when you're going on a higher level, it's okay for someone to drop your name in the hat and put you where you need to be. Because again, you can sit on all the degrees and know this, know that, this, that, and the other. But if you don't know people that could put you in those places and that might know somebody that knows somebody, you're going to spin wheels. So I think networking and just being more active in organizations, I definitely would have did that a whole lot differently and latched on to mentors.
That's so true, because as a culinary educator myself, I see this all the time with students, and they're so in their shell, and is worried about ego and what people think, and they miss out on so much of that education. They're just getting the fundamentals of the basics. But while you're in school or in high school or in the career, pick people's brains, to connect with people, go, get involved in organizations,
Absolutely.
Get involved in clubs, get involved in extracurricular, so you can really absorb it and maximize that time and that knowledge and that learning.
Absolutely. I mean, because it's just, because again, you can't take that away. And that is definitely one of the things when I realized when my career started to hit that shift, it was like, if I would have done this, like when I was in culinary school, I probably wouldn't have struggled the way I did. But, again, we all go through what we need to go through to grow us and things like that. But without a doubt, I don't think for a doubt, if I would have really engrossed myself in it and really gotten active, really, just kind of quick. Because another thing about me is what I realized, I'm a quiet, low-key person, but I talk when I need to talk and get what I need to. Because a lot of people, they don't think that. They don't think that I'm as quiet as I am, but I really am a quiet person. I'm just kind of very, especially if I'm in a room with a lot of people, I'm going to talk and interact. But for the most part, I'm quiet because I'm just kind of observing, observing everybody around the room and stuff like that. And I don't have too much to say. But, and that was I was really, really quiet. I didn't have that confidence. I was just so quiet. It's like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want nobody bothering me. And I'm not going to ask too many questions. I'm just going to sit here and absorb it. And I've been like, and I really got questions, but it's just like, but I'm one of those, I'm so self-taught because I've always been a reader. Like I read. It's like, I'll read now. I'll figure it out myself. I'll teach myself. And it's just like, and I done that, but I could have got a whole lot more if I would have asked some questions, and then figured it out from someone else. Because, everybody, chefs do things so different, just from the different things that you learn from the chefs. Everybody just has their different styles and stuff. So again, if I would have really took the time to pick some brains and ask some questions, things would have been a whole lot different.
But it's like a teacher, like you were, like I am. We always ask, is there any questions? And students never say anything, and they have them. It's like, and if you're listening and you're that student, ask the question.
Absolutely.
It's not a burden. It actually makes us happy as teachers. We want to be able to answer those questions. And if you have them, that's why you're in school. Don't be,
because what happens is they come back the same stuff that you taught them or you were telling them, and when you come back, all right, let me see you do it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
oh,
Chef, can I talk to you over here? Sure. What's up? Well, I really don't. What? I just asked you, did you have a question? Well, I ain't going to say nothing in front of everybody. That's what we're here for. So, yeah.
Stop worrying about all those people around you.
Stop worrying about all of that.
You're there for an objective. Talk to that teacher. Talk to those mentors. Reach out. People will help you, especially teachers. That's why they're teachers. They want to give that knowledge away. Go to them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. Exactly. And it's just like, you'd be surprised. Like, people would love to share what they know. And, because again, you don't answer the call of being a teacher just to sit on what you know, like.
We want to give it away. Seek them out after class, office hours, wherever, after school.
You want to give it away. That's why you're answering the call of being that teacher, is to share that knowledge. So yeah, I think a lot of, anybody that is listening to that, please take that away and ask questions. Because again, you never know the questions that can also lead to an opportunity. If you ask certain questions, that could lead to an opportunity.
And it goes beyond teachers, because that's why we're in the hospitality business. We're hospitable. So people reach out to people, chefs in your neighborhood, hotel managers, anybody, and ask them. They'll find the time. They'll have a cup of coffee with you, and they will share.
Absolutely.
So as we come to the end of our chat today, before we wrap up, is there any last minute advice or guidance that you want to leave with the listeners? Something you want to share?
The nugget that I would like to drop is to go for what you're passionate about. I think a lot of times, a lot of people get caught up. They have really awesome ideas, and they'll talk to that one wrong person, and they'll plant that seed of doubt. And then it's like, I ain't going to do it, But you're sitting on an awesome idea, and you feel it in your gut. And like when you do it, it makes you feel good. You get good feel, you can just get the good vibes, good energy, good whatever it is, but you don't act on it. So stop being scared and act on it, because you never know what comes about. And again, my son, that prime example, I'm sitting there, son, I got these collard greens. Mama, no, let's just stick with what we doing. Like, no, mama, don't. What? Like, just follow me on this. And again, had I listened to what he said, just the chicken, just the pork. And again, that everybody does, because again, we're in Texas, so everybody makes tamales. I'm not doing nothing special or nothing different in Texas, because this is a tamale state.
Right.
But again, what I'm doing, that's different. And then also just getting that feedback from other people too, because there's a few people, they just like traditional tamales. They don't like all that, the different. They just want the traditional ones. And I think that would be the biggest takeaway, is to act on what you're passionate about, because you never know. You never know what it could be, what it could lead to, who you could meet, just anything of that sort. So just don't listen to the haters and the naysayers. Do what you feel and you're passionate about.
If you just stay with the herd, you're going to be part of the herd. If you want to advance, you got to be different. You got to chase that passion.
That's it right there. Well, right there, you're going to be right. You're just going to blend right in with them, just doing just what you do. And, you just got to be like really fearless and just take a chance, jump off the porch, that's it. You just got to jump off the porch, and you can't, you got to be careless in a sense, not caring what people think or what they say, and stand on it. Stand on what you're firm about. Because it's really heartbreaking to see people that have ideas and they hear somebody. And quick story, one of my students, this happened when we was at school. So one of my students, we were in the lab, and we were doing a measurement lab, just the base. And so, and it was how boys are, they just always BSing and all that type of stuff. And so, Caesar, he was like, yeah, I wrote the story, and he's going in about it. He just looks so passionate. I was like, okay, well, tell you that. I'm gonna hype you up. Tell me about it. Tell me about the story. Yeah. So, and even though I'm not a Harry Potter fan or anything like that, it was like a cross up of Harry Potter and like the anime.
Okay.
It was like a cross up of that type of thing. I was like, okay, cool. And I'm just like, well, tell me more. He's telling me about it. And then one of the students come on, oh man, ain't nobody gonna read it. Ain't nobody gonna do it. And I'm like,
that's dumb.
Yeah, that right there. That's exactly, he was doing all the little, do you hear it? And then man, you hear what he's saying? You hear the story? Man, ain't nobody gonna oh man, I'm sitting in the other one. They chiming in. And I'm just standing here and I'm watching him go from to
deflate.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I'm like, hey, y'all, of course, like, y'all ease up on it. Like, man, you never know. That could be a million. Man, Chef, you just tell them that because you're the teacher. You got to. Ain't nobody gonna listen. Ain't nobody gonna. And again, I'm just steady watching them while they going, because that's what they do. They joke like that. And I'm just steady watching him. And again, all of that, it just went back to just. And when when we started cleaning up and stuff, I was like, hey, Josh, come here, let me talk to you right quick. And so he walked, he was like, yes, ma'am. I was like, don't you listen to what they say. I was like, I get it. Those are your friends. I was like, but those are the type of friends that usually misery loves company. So, if they see you doing something good and they say, I was like, Josh, that look that you had in your eyes when you were telling the story about this idea and this and that. And I was like, and they sitting here shooting it down. That's because they ain't got no ideas. Mm-hmm. That's because they not doing that. I was like, have you read the story of the lady that came up with Harry Potter? I was like, her story is something like that too.
Right.
And again, this woman is a multi-millionaire from Harry Potter. Whoever would have thought magical whimsical, like all that type of stuff would she do what she doing? So I was like, man, just hold on to what I'm saying. I was like, and I know those are your friends. I was like, sometimes you can't tell everybody what you're doing. So I was like, so more than I was like, don't give up on it. Like just keep going. Just don't tell them what you're doing. You can still be cool with them, but don't let them know what you're doing. But don't give up on that. I was like, because I was like, it really broke my heart to see how hype you was and how excited. And, me and you, we going back and forth. And then here they come, just shot you down and just busted your bubble. And you went from 10 to negatives, like to negative low. Like, I was like, don't do that.
It's like a culinary instructor. I always was like, our job is to facilitate their dreams, not to deflate them. Yeah. Because they could come in and say, I want to open up a food truck or whatever. Great. How can I help you?
Right, exactly. Because again, just because you may not have some success and that other people that didn't have success, who's not to say they're not going to be successful? So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Be around positive people that are going to help you move forward and forget the naysayers.
That's it. That's it right there. That positive people. And that's another take, because I think a lot of people are so conditioned to negativity. We have more negative stuff than positive stuff going. So I think just surrounding yourself with a good group of positive people that are doing what you're doing or better, because when you're surrounded with people like that, they're always going to be willing to uplift you. They're going to be willing to refer you. They're going to be willing to put you on the opportunities, drop that name in the hat, things of that sort. So you got to look at people that are doing that, because again, when you're trying to still stay core and rooted to those friends that, you grew up with or whatever, them are the main ones that, cause, they don't have a vision or they don't have a dream or they don't have nobody positive, speaking something positive and so on. They're going to shoot you down every time you say something.
Yeah. So stay away from toxic.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that is just about all the time we have for this episode. I want to first thank you, LaToya, for coming on the show today and sharing your culinary school story with all of us. Appreciate your time, your insight, and your honesty.
Thank you so much, Chef. I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, thanks so much, and bye-bye now.
Bye. You have a good one.
And a big thanks and appreciation also goes out to all of you, the listeners. We hope you enjoy the show and this episode. You all are a big part of this show, so please let us know what you think. Your comments are always welcome, and they help us in making the best show possible. You can email them to culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. That's culinaryschoolstories@gmail.com. Or even leave us a voicemail at area code 207-835-1275. That's area code 207-835-1275. And if you like the show, we have a big ask of all of you, and that is to share the podcast with everyone you know and to give us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, until our next Culinary School Story, take care and be well. Bye-bye. Culinary School Stories is a proud member of the Food Media Network.